Let's talk about admissions and what admissions committees look for. I've been part of both a business analytics admissions committee and a data science admissions committee. I've worked adjacently with MBA degrees, so I'll give my 2 cents on that. But most of the requirements that these programs look for are very similar. They ask for your resume, your statement of purpose, your letters of recommendation, TOEFL or IELTS if you're going to be taking them, GRE if applicable, or GMAT in the case of MBAs. And we'll talk about how to stand out. Your resume. One thing that you need to understand from two different worlds is for the MSBA degree and the STEM MBA degree, these are not technical programs. So you want to have more of a traditional format when you're doing your resumes. I can't tell you how many times that we've had in like super fancy resumes that look great, that look visually stunning, but do not have the substantive content that we're looking for. So in MSBA and the MBA degrees, really look for more of a traditional format and explain how you've been advancing your career, how have you been working to find some projects to help the admissions committee understand your level of experience. For these type of resumes, there's tons and tons of applications to go through. So don't write extensive details about all the things you have achieved. Very much take the bullet point approach and get to the point. Explain what you're doing and provide the results. So for example, Tanmoy runs a consulting business. Well, you know, if I were Tanmoy writing a bullet point for an MSBA or a MBA degree, I would say assisted, you know, over 10,000 students to generate a revenue of, I don't know, $100,000 in Q1 of 2021, right? It's very precise and to the point. It's quantitative. It tells me exactly what it is that you're accomplishing and how you're accomplishing it. And it's very simple for me to read. This is starkly different from a MDS committee. From an MDS committee, again, a traditional format is best, but we do get the visually stunning resumes. However, what happens with MDS students or students who want to submit into an MDS degree, they tend to write very little, okay? Understand that the dynamics of these two admissions committee are completely different. At business schools, traditionally, the staff, meaning myself or colleagues, will be reading your applications and they will get a final approval from faculty. In comparison, Masters of Data Science degrees, they tend to be a lot smaller. They tend to be a lot more focused. And so the faculty read your applications. So you're going to have a higher degree of people looking at your resume, looking at the content that you're submitting with an MDS degree than MSBA or MBA. So these faculty don't want you to simplify the achievements that you have done. They want very sophisticated, very well thought out, very complex sentences when they're talking about the resume. And so to give you an example, I had a student last year who said that they were interested in machine learning and they had done several projects, but even though it was simple and we understood exactly what they were doing, we needed more. Are you using TensorFlow? What kind of packages are you running? How did you arrive to your conclusion in your results? We want to understand the depth of your knowledge when it comes to data science. This gives us much more confidence that you are able to do what you're saying that you're able to do. It's very easy to list out the projects that you've done, but then when it comes to actual coursework, we realize that you're not performing at the level that you said you were going to be performing. So we need much more depth. the statement of purpose is also very different. MSBA and MBA degrees tend to be very specific and ask you questions. So it's not a one size fits all approach with business school degrees. They tend to be very specific as to why you want to pursue an MBA, why do you want to pursue a business analytics degree, what are your short-term and long-term goals. So the best advice that I can give you on that realm is you need to answer the question. Don't submit the statement of purpose that you're using for all other programs to one program. I can't tell you how many times I've seen students submit a statement of purpose that's for Yale or Stanford or for USC or for any other school to our program, the wrong program. It's a huge turnoff, and it doesn't put you in a good position because you didn't pay attention to details. So really make sure that you're catering your statement of purpose to business schools and you answer the question. I can't tell you how many times as well, students don't answer the question. They think, oh, I just submitted my statement of purpose that I used for another school. They ask similar things, so I'm just going to use that. No, we're going to read through it and we're going to look at ourselves and say, this person didn't answer the question. So really make sure that you answer the questions that business schools are asking. Which is, again, starkly different from MDS degrees. MDS degrees generally have a very similar format, which is that statement of purpose. The statement of purpose, though, is not for you to drench out all of your personal history. I grew up in India. I was inspired by my uncle to do XYZ, and that's why I want to do data science, and this is what I want to do. We don't need a personal history narrative. The statement of purpose is you clearly identifying why you need this MDS degree, what you want to achieve with it, and what you want to learn from it. It's not about your past, it's more of your future. We can already see your transcripts, so we know that you're well educated. We know that you have a lot of the skills. Tell me something different that's not already in the application and I can't find it anywhere else. So when you're looking at statement of purposes, really position yourself in thinking about the future. This is just an example, but if I were writing a statement of purpose to an MDS program, it would go something like, in undergrad, I worked on natural language processing to do a sentiment analysis on movie scripts to determine whether or not they were more positive or negative. My results found that movies that were longer or had more dramatic sense actually tended to be more positive than negative. I did this using, all the different models that you would use. And this is how it spawned my interest in natural language processing. I want to take on a master's in data science and focus on natural language processing because I want to accomplish XYZ. Once I've accomplished XYZ, I want to pursue a role, at a large corporation where I can put these principles to work in ABC fashion. Okay, so you're being very precise you're giving an example as to how you found data science, how you're going to, what you're looking to accomplish within the program, and where you're going to go in the future. You'll also want to add a couple things as to why this program is a good fit for you. Okay, as admissions committee, we want to make sure that you're a good fit for us just as much as we're a good fit for you. In a business school context, letters of recommendation just add validation to the amount of work that you've done. They're a little bit more like freebies. On the MDS side, we're much more critical because the faculty need to explain if they have seen you work in the data science field. So I've had little instances where faculty have said, Tanmoy got an A in my advanced programming course, but that's relatively it. And then another professor has said, I work with Tanmoy, but I really don't know why he's asking for a letter of recommendation. These may sound like very stark letters. Like, why would somebody go to seek this professor if they don't have a relationship? But this happens more often than not. So a professor, especially one that you're looking to pursue a letter of recommendation from, really needs to know a couple of elements. The first of which, they need to know who you are. It's not just about you doing well in their class and you getting a good grade. That's not sufficient. They need to know who you are, how you've done in their class, but also how you have contributed in their class. Second, they should be people who have seen your work at a technical perspective and can speak to it and say something along the lines where, well, Bryan worked on a neural network model for me, and although they didn't get the result that I wanted, they were able to identify some problems that help build the model better in the long term. Right? Those are the type of things that we're looking for in an MDS admissions committee for letters of rec. We need depth. We need sophisticated understanding of the technical skills that you have. It's not just saying, Bryan is a really great candidate, I think you should take him into your program. That is not sufficient for admissions. And lastly, how to stand out. So I've talked a lot about the differences between a MSBA and business school admissions and an MDS engineering school admissions type of route. For you to stand out, you need to cater your strategy to one or the other. You can't use the same shotgun strategy for both. It is not very effective. You may be lucky, depending on the school or the program, in getting admissions. That is a high probability that you'll get admissions to at least one or two universities. But if you want to be a standout, you want to be memorable, you want to get the highest scholarship possible, you need to address the university individually. Build a relationship with the recruiter or the program director and ask sophisticated questions. I can't tell you so many times students schedule consultation with me and ask me the same information that's on the website. Not only have you wasted 30 minutes of my time, it shows me that you have not done any research on your own, and you're bringing in questions just to show your face and try to make a connection. That is not going to get you into the program. If you're going to request a consultation or meet with someone on the admissions team or meet with somebody in the program as a representative, I urge you to do your research. Really understand the program in and out. The websites are very thorough and usually have all the information. There's very few programs out there where I can tell you 100%, yes, you know what, just email them and ask questions, because their flow is crazy. Okay. But there's very, very few. Most of the time you want to make sure that you have sophisticated questions. A sophisticated question, for example, as you may be wondering, is regarding to capstone. Okay. Do you have, if it's not listed on the website, do you have an industry-based capstone or a faculty-driven capstone? Okay. This will tell you a lot. This will also tell you, the recruiter, that you are looking at the curriculum. If you can't immediately tell, you can also ask, how the curriculum is balanced. Does it lean more towards statistics, or does it lean more towards computer science, or is it balanced? In the case of Masters of Data Science. In business analytics, you can ask them, how far in data science do you go? There's very few programs that teach natural language processing and machine learning, and those are still very far away from data science courses. They are at the very best surface level and give you a taste of what is possible. So you might want to ask your MSBA program, how in depth are you going to go into machine learning or natural language processing? Again, if it's not listed on their website. ultimately, like I said, the way to stand out is really cater your strategy to that specific school. And it's better to apply to very few schools and make sure that that is a right fit, as opposed to applying to, 10 to 20 schools and hoping that you get into one, and then you end up in a school that you end up not liking because it's somewhere in the US that you didn't expect. And I'll give you an example. I had a student from abroad who was applying to graduate school here in the US, and she got admissions in a few schools here in the Midwest. And she ended up choosing a school in Missouri. Missouri is a metropolis, it is a city, but it's relatively empty and rural. So when she arrived to the US, she didn't think that it looked in that way. She wanted more of the city, more of the lifestyle that Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Seattle, Dallas have to offer. So it's very important that you just don't apply because of the rankings of the school, and choose schools that are ranked very highly, but they're located in the Midwest or in areas where there's not a lot of economic development. Okay, because you're going to go to these schools, you're going to maybe get a name brand recognition, but then you're not going to be able to find a job locally or even across the state because you're too far. Okay, so you want to make sure that you choose schools that are regionally local and can give you a lot of opportunity.